Today we're talking about how to find your subconscious programming, how to reprogram your mind. Now, it's important to understand this because if you are not the programmer of your own mind, you'll be following out a completely different prepackaged, pre-programmed life. And all of us are mathematical beings. That's what we are here. And we need to become our own programmers. And that entails a concept that we talk about a lot here: metacognition. Metacognition is self-thinking thought. So now what we need to do is be able to apply that to our own minds by understanding the programming that exists there and then reprogramming it so that we are living a life conducive to what we want to create. Because I'm sure all of you watching wants a certain type of life. But unless you are really understanding your own internal programming, you could very well end up leading a completely different life according to that programming. Now, I'm going to talk about this here in a lot of different ways, and we're going to see exactly how to figure out your own subconscious programming, how to reprogram it, how to do so in a way that you're living a life that you want to live, and then together we're creating a world that's better for all of us. But I want to read to you a quote by Terence McKenna. And Terence McKenna is a fantastic thinker and psychonaut here. And I think that this quote by Terence really captures the heart of part of what we're talking about today. So Terence says, "We as humans need to realize that we are the catalysts. We need to draw, paint, sing, sculpt, dance, or act like we never have and never could again, because in this moment, we are all doing things that have never been done. This builds our culture. We like to look at celebrities and think that this is how we all act and how we all think, but we and what we do on a day-to-day basis is culture. Don't watch TV, don't read magazines, don't even listen to NPR. Create your own roadshow. The nexus of space and time, where you are now, is the most immediate sector of your universe. And if you're worrying about Michael Jackson or Bill Clinton or somebody else, you're disempowered. You're giving it all away to icons which are maintained by an electronic media so that you want to dress like X or have lips like Y. That is shit-brained, this kind of thinking. This is all cultural diversion, and what is real is you and your friends and your associations, your highs, your orgasms, your hopes, your plans, and your fears. And we're told no, that we're unimportant. We're peripheral. Get a degree, get a job, get a this, get a that, and then you're a player. You don't even want to play in that game. You want to reclaim your mind and get it out of the hands of the cultural engineers who want to turn you into a half-baked moron, consuming all this trash that's being manufactured out of the bones of a dying world." So this is the idea. We are independent, individual, creative minds. And what are we here to do? We are here to create and transform. As we know, this is a mathematical reality. We are mathematical minds, and we are the creators of this world. We are the gods. There is no God but us. We are the absolute. We are the all that there is. We are here to transform and create our own lives and the world in general. That's what we hear. That's what we are. We are creators and transformers. We are catalysts. We are not here to be taken from birth and shaped and molded and programmed into a factory model of existence where each and every one of us is more or less an identical cog that can easily be replaced in a capitalist machine that exists for no other purpose than to make the rich richer. And all they want from you is to be an obedient soldier, worker, and consumer. That's it. And so we need to throw off this cultural conditioning and this cultural programming, reclaim our minds, and create our world through our own creativity, our art, our, exploring, dancing, art, singing, thinking, creating. This is what we're here for. This is what we're here to do. And like I said, I think that quote is fantastic and really captures it in a good way. But let's take a look here at this article over on medium.com by Kimberly Fosu. And Kimberly Fosu has an Instagram and a YouTube channel and all things like that. So, consider checking them out, subscribing. But they have an article here called "How to Figure Out Your Current Subconscious Programming," and you manifest exactly what your subconscious mind is. Exactly what your subconscious mind is, and your unconscious, your consciousness is just such a tiny fraction of who you are. You have this vast reservoir of the unconscious. And if you want to depict it, you can often depict it like an iceberg. An iceberg has just a tiny little tip visible on the surface, and that's consciousness. And underneath the waves is the enormity of the rest of it, which is hidden beneath the sea. And this is the bulk of who you are. But you're completely unaware of it, but it dictates who you are and how you live your life. And we have grown up constantly bombarded by cultural conditioning. Your parents, society, television, social media, school, religion, all of this from the moment you're born is just bombarding you. And it is shaping your unconscious mind, and it's instilling that programming into you. And so by the time you get to, in your 20s or whatever age that you start to really begin to shape your life, you're running on programming instilled in you by outside forces rather than your own. So what you want to do is engage in metacognition, where you're looking into your unconscious, understanding the programming that is there, and then shaping it so that you can start to live a life that is your life and not a prepackaged life. That's the whole idea. If you're not doing this, if you're not being the programmer of your own mind, you're not going to be living your own life. You're going to be living a life that was programmed and already determined for you. So it says, the mind forgets nothing. Your subconscious mind is like a memory disk that never gets full no matter what. It permanently stores everything that has happened to you from when you were a baby till the day that you die. It even contains memories of the things that happened in the past that you swore to never think or talk about, and it forgets nothing. All that content that you try to repress and forget, it doesn't go away. It's not eliminated. It just gets repressed. It gets relegated to your unconscious mind. So what you want to do is to be able to uncover these things and integrate them and use them, not just repress them. Because if you repress them, what they're going to do is exist beneath the surface and guide you unbeknownst to you. So your subconscious mind contains details of everything that you've ever experienced, and these experiences shape the way that you think and act, especially experiences in your childhood. It's always working in the background, but you're not aware of it. While it won't tell you exactly what happened when you were 4 years old, it will bring things to the forefront through repeating patterns, thoughts, and impulses that reflect the things that have happened to you in the past. It's the reason why you sometimes act and later wonder why you did or said the thing you did or said. It's why you do things and regret them. This is also known sometimes as archetypal possession, depending on the severity or the degree of what you do. But have you ever done something? You were really angry or really sad or whatever, and you did something that was really out of character, and then afterwards you regret it, and you were like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. That's not me. That's not who I am." Well, that's a really good way to understand this. When you say that's not me, that's not who I am, it's because what happened was that an unconscious programming beneath the surface grabbed you and took hold of you and dictated your actions. You were no longer consciously in control. You were controlled by those unconscious drives that are beneath the surface. So you need to be able to identify these drives so that you can work with them and understand them. And this is really takes a degree of consciousness that, most people don't think about these types of things. They just live their day-to-day lives and just think about what they're going to have for dinner or what movie they're going to watch or what they're going to do next week or something like that. You need to engage in metacognition, where you are self-reflecting and thinking about your own thought. And this is where you because what you are is a mathematical being. So you as a mathematical being are running on these programs. What you need to do is develop the ability to be your own programmer rather than just running on the program. You see the difference? Think of it like a computer. We are so much more than computers. We aren't just dead mechanical code or anything like that. So don't think that that's the case in this metaphor. but this is just a metaphor. So imagine a computer code that just runs the code. There's a computer program and it has a code and it just carries out the code. But now imagine a computer program that develops the ability to code and alter its own coding. So it develops the ability to self-reference by accessing its own code and then altering that programming. And then, of course, altering that programming is going to alter itself more, and then it will be able to look into it. And so you're in sort of a feedback loop here. And this is the difference between most of humanity, who's just running on that code of being born, going to school, getting a job, having parties on the weekend, getting married, having kids, going on vacations, and then dying. Like, it's this prepackaged life. And there's nothing wrong with doing those things. Those can be very rewarding things if you want to do that. But if you're in this prepackaged life and you're doing them and only those things without exploring your own intricacies and creativity, and you're just running on that program because it was instilled in you, then you're not living your own life. You're living a life that was pre-programmed for you. So what one wants to do is develop the ability to look into one's own programming, one's own mind, and be able to alter it and integrate it. So your subconscious mind influences how you act and react to things, such as why you are always happy, sad, lonely, shy, confident, afraid, hardworking, lazy, critical, judgmental, etc. The sense of fear and discomfort you sometimes feel, or the need to judge and complain, are signs that your subconscious mind has been triggered. And triggers will always point you to the things in your subconscious mind that you need to address and heal. So triggers is a great way to begin to understand what's going on in your subconscious mind. If something triggers you, if something upsets you, if something makes you uncomfortable, to begin to become the programmer of your own mind means to, what do most people do? They just respond to that trigger. Something triggered me, it made me upset, I'm going to get angry now. So that's you just running on programming. But if you're going to be the programmer of your own mind, what do you need to do? You need to stop and go, this thing triggered me. Okay, why did it trigger me? Why did it upset me? What in the past has made this and caused it to be a thing that upsets me? What are the reasons that this thing upsets me? And are there valid reasons that this thing upsets me? Does it upset me because it really is actually something that is an injustice and should upset me and be something that I want to protest or be upset about? Or is it just something that upsets me because society says that a certain thing should be the way that it is and not another way? And you can see this a lot with, everything going on today. There's just always something that someone is upset about that's ridiculous. Like, a lot of conservatives, or the thing that right now that conservatives are mad about is Lizzo playing that flute and, Ariel being black in The Little Mermaid. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, of course these things are fine. There's nothing wrong with them, but people get triggered by them because of cultural conditioning. And this particular cultural conditioning has racism inherent in it. And that's why that's why this applies to creating a new world in general too, because that's what it means for racism to be systemic. Systemic racism means that racism is literally embedded in our culture. And so as we grow up and learn, the programming that gets instilled in us automatically comes with this racism in it because of our whole cultural past that includes that, and we haven't gotten rid of those things, and we haven't gotten rid of those elements. So that's just one example of why this is not only important for us as individuals, but for us as a collective as a whole, when we want to build a world that's not racist, that's not homophobic, that's not sexist or genderist or violent or all these things. We need many of these things are embedded into our programming and embedded into our culture. The way we view gender, the way we view sex, the way we view everything that you can think of. What we need to do is when you, because people get triggered by these things, is think, okay, am I getting triggered by it simply because I've been programmed for a certain thing to be a certain way, and it deviates from that and thus causes a dissonance and causes me to be angry? Or are there actually valid reasons for me to be upset about it? And you'll see that most of all the bullshit that we have today is, all the terrible racism, sexism, homophobia, violence, all these things stem from systemic programming that is culturally conditioned for us to behave in a certain way. It's my nation and my God and my race that's the best, and this is just embedded in one's culture. So we all need to be our own mind hackers, where we hack into our own programming and alter it and make sure that we're running on a program that gives us the best life, and then the best life for a collective as well, for all of us together. So we want to be able to live a fulfilling life full of, adventure and excitement and thrills and exploring ourselves and actualization, and as the world as well, as a collective. So becoming aware of the patterns. But anyway, the point of that was that triggers are a really good way to start examining the programs of your mind. If something triggers you, don't just get mad about it or get sad about it or whatever the trigger is. Look at it, examine it, and see why it's there, and if it has a reason for it to be there or not. And then you can alter it. If you realize, oh wow, you know what? I'm triggered by this thing, and it's not even something that I should be upset about. I'm just mad about it because I've been told my whole life that a certain thing should be a certain way, when it actually doesn't matter. And then you can go in and start making those adjustments to your programming. So becoming aware of the patterns. The conscious mind is the physical mind, and the subconscious mind is the habitual mind. It is the reason why habits and patterns are so hard to break. They are subconscious things that are stored deep within the mind. You have to notice them to break them, but how many of us actually take notice when something is hidden? That's right. We need to be constantly aware, constantly searching for this. Whatever is manifesting right now, it is exactly what your subconscious programming is. Whatever you're experiencing is exactly the programming that you have. So the life that you are living is based on, the experience, and this is more or less should be obvious, but people don't really think about this. The life that you are experiencing is dependent upon all the actions and choices and thoughts that you have that are ultimately a result of that behind the scenes unconscious programming that you have. And this is why it's important to be able to be your own programmer so that you live the life that you actually want to have. So it's your own mind. You must know it inside and out. In order to shift your reality, you have to reprogram your subconscious mind. To do this, you have to take a look at your life and try to pinpoint what it is that you're experiencing over and over again. Yes, so you have to take a look at these cycles that you're in as well, getting caught up in these cycles that one lives again and again and again and again. And if you're unhappy with these cycles, you need to take a look and look at the root as to why are these cycles occurring and how can I break these cycles? If there is a certain pattern that it keeps recurring over and over again in your life, and you consciously don't want it to be that way, but nevertheless is that way, this is because of unconscious programming, and you need to be able to alter that and break that pattern. So until you become aware of what's happening in your life, you're just running on unconscious programming, sometimes passed down from generation to generation through beliefs and habits and thoughts. This is why many of us end up living and experiencing the same things that our ancestors experienced. And if we do not consciously become aware and shift that programming, we can only reach as far as they did. So a lot of this is about becoming aware. And there's really three steps here for becoming aware of the unconscious and integrating it. And we talk about this a lot in Inner Star Actualization. So check out my playlist on Inner Star Actualization. Okay. So to be able to really do this, hold on, To be able to really, what you have to do is to know, first of all, just know that these unconscious elements exist. Then to become aware of their contents and then integrate it. Like, for example, the shadow self is a big part of your unconscious that dictates how you act and behave. Your shadow self is just a reservoir for all the parts of you that you denied and rejected growing up and then relegated to your shadow. So basically, you're a kid, you're growing up, you're learning and you're experiencing the world, but you suddenly realize that certain things are not okay. And this may be like, let's say that you get, that you're an angry child and you have problems with anger, and you get told, well, no, anger is wrong. You can't behave that way. So if you repress that, that goes to your shadow. And so then anger will be in your shadow. But it's not necessarily negative things at all. It's just things that culture says is wrong. So for example, let's say that you are a boy and you like to wear dresses, and you get told, no, that is wrong. So that creative part of you will be repressed to your shadow because you're taught no, that is wrong. So a creative and artistic and expressive element of you then gets repressed to your shadow. So there's all these different elements that make up your shadow. They're just the parts of you that you rejected and repressed because it brought the pain of ridicule or reprimand or punishment by society, your parents, your friends, culture, etc. And so you repress those parts of you into your shadow. And because they're unconscious, you don't know that they're there. You would even deny that that's a part of you. That's why you get a lot of people who are, say, really homophobic, actually themselves are attracted to members of the same gender. They are also have, if they're a guy and they're homophobic, oh, I'm a man's man. And they may themselves have, gay tendencies and urges, but they have repressed it into their shadow and they would deny it all day long. And this isn't always the case, but it is sometimes the case. And that's another way to really become aware of your programming as well, is to look at the things that make you uncomfortable or the things that you dislike and ask yourself, why is it that I dislike them so much? Do I dislike them because they really inherently have qualities to them that I don't like? Or do I dislike them so much because I'm trying to convince myself that it's not a part of me? So not everything that you dislike is necessarily going to be a part of your shadow self, but it's a hint that it might be. If there's something that you just, oh man, you hate when so-and-so does a certain thing, or you hate a particular element, that's when you have to stop and analyze, wait a minute, why don't I like this? Are there really good reasons? You examine it via logic and reason. Are there really good reasons for me to dislike it? Or am I doing so because it is a part of myself? And when I so vehemently attack this thing, it quells my my psychological discomfort, because you're affirming to yourself and convincing yourself, oh, that can't be a part of me, because look at how much I hate it. That couldn't be a part of me. Now, that's not always the case. I want to emphasize that again. It's not always the case that things that you dislike are part of you, but it's a good indication for something to look at. So you want to just become aware that these unconscious drives exist, then become aware of their contents, and then figure out how to deal with it. So with regard to the shadow self, you just need to become aware that your shadow self is a part of you. Most people don't even know about the shadow self. They don't know anything about this. So just by becoming conscious of the fact that you have a shadow self, you've made part of your unconscious conscious. People are always like, well, how do I do this? It sounds like this really sort of mystical thing, but making the unconscious conscious is very, very difficult. But that's one example of how one is doing it. Just by becoming aware of the fact that you have a shadow self, you've made a bit of your unconscious conscious, and you've become more conscious than the average person who has no idea what the shadow self is. Then the next step is to figure out the contents of your shadow self, what makes it up, what's in there. And when you do that, by the different methods like seeing what triggers you, what makes you uncomfortable, looking at your dreams, a lot of different ways. But then you understand what the contents are, and then you figure out how to deal with them. It's like, okay, well, what do I do about this? What do I do? Can I express myself in a certain way that'll help integrate this aspect of myself into my daily life? Can I, use this energy that's been repressed in a way that can make my life better, instead of just shoving it down, you bring it out into your life in a healthy and positive way. And that's how you make the unconscious even more conscious and are now integrating it into consciousness. But let's continue here. So pay attention to your dreams. This is another great one. Dreams are messages. Although they are abstract, symbolic, and sometimes very confusing, your dreams can show you what's going on in your subconscious mind. So your dreams are just a manifestation of your mind. When you're exploring your dream world, you're exploring your own mind. So especially if you have recurring dreams are usually a big hint to, like, your mind's telling you, hey, this is something you need to deal with. This is something that you need to, it's trying to get you to pay attention, that this is an important thing in your life that you need to deal with. So dreams are a great way to explore your unconscious and see what's in there. People sometimes, if you're lucid, you can, because nightmares are usually expressions of your shadow self. So when one becomes lucid in their dreams, what some people do is if there's a big, frightening monster in their dream, question it, ask it, and be like, hey, why are you so angry? What's making you so, aggressive or whatnot? But anyway, let's say you're having a recurring dream of losing control behind the wheel, and that you keep having that dream and you wake up terrified, or you constantly dream of being naked in public and you wake up feeling embarrassed. That's what's going on a subconscious level. You may be feeling out of control in your real life, or a secret of yours may get exposed, or you may be feeling exposed in a certain area of your life. And that's a great example. Having a recurring dream of losing control of behind the wheel can be an indication of not having control in life, feeling out of control. And like she says here, a dream of being naked can represent a fear of a secret being exposed. So that's also important to realize, is that dreams are very symbolic. You have to do dream interpretation to understand what's actually being communicated. You have to pay attention to your dreams if you dream a lot and actually remember them. And that leads you right into your subconscious mind. And then break the pattern. And this is a really important one here. And I'm really glad that she brings this up, because this is really critical here. Another way to figure out your current subconscious programming is to pay attention to the things that you say to people. The things that you're constantly saying to people, and even yourself, will always reveal your subconscious. This is a really powerful one. And here's some quotes like, I'm going to die alone, I never have any money left over, or I'm so tired of this. Because, I think we all do things from time to time like, oh my God, I hate my life. This is the worst. I hate this. I hate that. And the point here is not to be like, oh, well, you should just think positive thoughts all the time. It's important to be critical of your situation and to understand what's going on. If you really don't like your job, it's important that you realize that you don't like your job, and not try and just put on some happy, positive affirmations like, my job is great. That's not what this is about. It's good to be lucid and conscious of the fact that you don't like your job. But the point is if you get so dragged into constantly being in the pattern of focusing on these negative attributes, and not reprogramming to focus on positive things and the changes that you want to make, then you're just going to dig yourself deeper and deeper and deeper into the parts of your life that you don't like. If you're just constantly affirming the parts that you don't like over and over and over again, you're just going to get stuck in that pattern of all the things that you don't like and all the things that aren't the way they're supposed to be. That's just going to keep happening. But if you switch over to positive goals and things that you want to achieve, and looking towards things that you want to have happen in your life, then you can start to make steps towards achieving them and breaking the pattern. So I want to make it very clear that because there is a very big problem of toxic positivity, where it's like, oh, don't think about all the bad things. Just think about the happy things in life. Just think about the positive things. That's when you start building a big shadow self, because you start repressing and not acknowledging these difficult parts of life, and you repress it, and then you just put on a happy face all the time. And what happens then is that you're building this you're like a pressure cooker, and you're not acknowledging it, and you're pushing it aside, and it builds and builds and builds, and you're like, I'm just but life is great, and then it can explode in anger or depression or whatever negative aspect. That's why it's funny when you often look at troll comments online, or really hateful people, that leave like really hateful comments. If you click and go to their profile, very often it'll be like, oh, positive vibes only, love and light, and star, rainbow, happy face emojis. And so the problem, the issue here is being able to understand both, being realistic of your situation and understand that if certain things are shitty, that, hey, they're shitty, but then also taking the steps to not just be stuck in that abyss and pit all the time, but look at the positive aspects of life and the things that you want to change and work towards those. So it says, anything that you chronically complain about is something that's going on in your subconscious mind. Also, the things that you complain about in others can also point to your own fears that you're projecting onto others. Yeah, that's what we talked about earlier, is projection. If you're talking about, how you don't like this so much and how you don't like that so much, you have to take a look and see if those things exist in you. If there's something you constantly say or even think to yourself that is your subconscious, that's your subconscious programming. And the more that you think those things and say those words and cast those spells out of your mouth, because words are spells, the more you keep that in your experience when they manifest. And I just want to say that real quick, the whole idea that words are spells. Remember that this is symbolic. It's not like you're actually literally casting magic spells like how it's depicted in movies or things like that. It's just the idea that words are powerful, and they shape your thoughts, they shape your mind, they shape others' thoughts, they shape other minds, they shape what happens in your life. When I say certain things, it changes existence. It changes reality, not in like a magical way, but by the fact that when I communicate words to you, you interpret those words, and they will, let's say, alter, your own cognitive pattern. Like when you learning something, you can see how when a teacher teaches something, and that's a communication of words, and then the student learns and understands, and then they go out and apply that to their life. So those words were powerful and made a change in someone's life. So it's just a different way of looking at things, and I just want to make that clear. It's not like some weird Harry Potter bullshit where you say things and things magically happen. It's just that words are powerful, and they shape our reality. They are symbolic representations of thoughts and ideas, and reality is literally composed of thoughts and ideas. This is a reality of thought. And so words are just vocalizations of thoughts that carry those meanings behind them. The mind is smart. It's a powerful tool. Your mind is like your tongue. It can build things up and it can break them down. It needs to be tamed and controlled. You can use your conscious mind to reprogram your subconscious mind by the power of positive thinking to overcome negative thoughts and habits. The repeating patterns tell the truth you need to know. You can break them or repeat them. Dreams are doorways to explore your mind, and it's all in your hands. It's your mind, after all. You can control and use it for your own good, and you should. And so the really important thing that I want to emphasize again is that positive thinking can be helpful, but there is very much a such thing as toxic positivity that the world needs to get away from. That's really trendy right now. So because just pure positive thinking and ignoring all the negativity is not good for change. Just for in your own life, in the world in general, you need to acknowledge what is there. You need to acknowledge, hey, this part of my life, I don't like it. It's not good. This part of the world, it's not good. It should be changed. But not to just sit there and dwell on it over and over and over and over, but think of the solutions, think of the positive things that one can do to break that pattern or change that element in the world. So to really reprogram one's mind, it's all about first becoming aware of it and then altering it and changing it. So that's important. The first thing to do is you have to become aware of the programming, be on the lookout for it. And once you understand what it is and how it's there, then you need to change it and alter it, because think about all the things that you value as well. You put a value on certain things rather than other things. Now think about it. The things that you value, do you value them because you actually really truly value them? Or do you value them because society and culture tells you that they are things to be valued? Like money, fame, empty success. So many people value these things, but why do they value them? Do they intrinsically value these things because they themselves, or is it because culture has told you that these things are things that should be valued, and you should do these things, you should seek these things, you should look a certain way, you should be a certain way, you should, and so many people, on quote unquote spiritual paths are doing the same things, where they're like, oh, well, I want to be super successful and make tons of money and be super famous, and I'm going to manifest being famous and wealthy. But why? Like, do you just, one shouldn't be, if one is well known and makes money, that's fine. But these should be a byproduct of what happens when one goes and seeks what is truly valuable. So the important thing is to constantly be self-reflecting. If you are working towards a certain thing or a certain goal, ask yourself why. Are you doing it because you really truly value it and that's what you want? Or are you doing it because society, are you working to become a doctor because you care about people and you want to heal people? Or are you becoming a doctor because your parents told you that that's what you should do, and you're trying to make them proud and make a lot of money? So whether you become a doctor because it's something that you value because you want to help and heal, or it's something that you value because you've been told that it is something that you should value, is the difference between living a life under your own programming or someone else's. You can see how two people can both go towards the same thing, such as being a doctor, but one will do it because of cultural programming, and another may do it because they themselves are masters and controllers of their own life and know that it is an intrinsically valuable thing for them to heal people. And we'll have way more healthier people, healthy lives, and a healthy world where people are looking to fulfill what is valuable to them rather than what a world tells them is valuable. Because think about what doctors do you think are going to be better? Do you think that the doctors who, think about what kind of doctor you'd rather go to. Would you rather go to a doctor who became a doctor because they wanted to make a lot of money? Or would you rather go to a doctor because they care about people and they want to make people healthy, and they care about a person's actual well-being rather than looking at someone just like a dollar sign? So we have a really shitty world right now because a lot of people are in vocations that they don't really like or care about. They're only doing so because society has told them that certain things are valuable. And so many people are living lives that they're intrinsically unhappy with and feel unfulfilled because they're just following out that pre-programming and looking at what society has told them is valuable. So the whole point about this is to be more conscious, more self-aware, instead of just valuing what you value, having things trigger you, desiring things that you just stop and think. and I just laugh because this should be obvious, but most people don't. They're just running on that programming. And this is really kind of simple, but it's hard for a lot of people to understand because most people just run on programming. Everyone going about their day, doing what they do, they're all running on this prepackaged program that has been instilled in them. And all you need to do to break out of this programming and be your own programmer is think. When you do something, stop and think, why am I doing this? Why do I value this? Why is this important to me? Why is this something that I am doing? Am I doing it because I want to do it? Am I doing it because there are good reasons to do it? Or am I doing it because a culture has told me to do so, or a religion has told me to do so, or my parents have told me to do so? When something makes you mad, oh, that shouldn't be that way. It should be a different way. Why? Are there good reasons for it to be a different way? Or is it just because a culture or religion or your parents, etc., have told you? When you value something like, oh, I really want this in my life. I really want to, be super famous and make a lot of money and have a fancy car. Why? Do you actually value those things, or is it just because they're status symbols of society? And again, there's nothing wrong with that stuff. You can be famous, make a lot of money, and have a fancy car. That's fine. But they shouldn't be an end unto themselves. These things have taken people's lives and twisted them because of this consumerist capitalist world that we live in, where this so-called spiritual community is filled with people who are just trying to manifest money and abundance in their life. There's nothing wrong with being successful, but it's not an end unto itself. What do you really care about? What is fulfilling to you? What is fulfilling to what helps make this world a better place? And if certain things help you do that, that's great. But just always stop and examine why you do the things that you're doing, why you value the things that you value, and you can alter those things. If you realize, wow, you know what? This particular thing, I actually don't value it. I just got caught up in the programming. Or this thing that really makes me mad, you know what? There's really no reason for that to make me mad. And you can really just stop and look at the different motivations behind all your actions and decide. Use your own will, your own mind to decide if a certain thing should be in your life or should not be in your life. And then when we're all doing that, we're going to live in a lot more of a fulfilled and happy world, because when people are masters of their own mind and really understanding what is important to them, and also incorporates what's important to us as a collective, we're going to start living in a world where people are intrinsically following their own passions. And we're going to get into that feedback loop where we're creating better lives for ourselves and better lives for each other. Because when people are doing what they really want to do, they're happier and way more satisfied, and they're doing a way better job at what they want. Imagine all the people who are forced to do bullshit 9-to-5 jobs, who could be amazing artists or brilliant scientists or doctors or whatever, but they're just limited by this world that puts these, and it's not, and a lot of this stuff is not their fault. It's because this world makes the conditions of life extremely difficult, where we live in this capitalist society where people are forced to work jobs that they hate and not have the time to fulfill their own passions. And that's the thing. If you just keep people constantly distracted by this game of having to make money to survive, having to make money to live, just to put food on the table, people aren't going to be able to develop the ability to, be the programmers of their own mind. So that's why capitalism is a big hindrance to evolution as a whole. So capitalism is a big problem, because what does capitalism do? Capitalism puts money as an end and not a means. Capitalism puts value on money itself and for itself, and not just money as a means to some other end. And because of this, we live in this very nightmarish world where people are suffering and are devalued because everyone is now just a dollar sign. People aren't looked at as thinking, feeling human beings. They're looked at as their use value for the economy. This particular person, instead of thinking, oh wow, this is a person with hopes and dreams and a family, etc., just, oh, how is this person going to affect the bottom line? That's it. They're reduced to numbers for the GDP or whatever is being looked at in that context. So what we need to do is take back our minds, be the programmers of our own minds. And the first step for that, it's easy. Just as you go about your day, think about the different actions that you make and study the motivations behind them. If something makes you mad, why does it make me mad? If you're looking, if you feel that something is valuable to you, why is it valuable to you? Look at that, examine those motivations, and then change them and alter them if need be. Now, there's a lot more to this. Check out my playlist on inner star actualization for really getting into the deep work when it comes to your shadow self, your mirror self, and your power self, and integrating them all within your higher self. There is a lot to it, and it talks about how to, really tap into your power, how to understand all the different creative elements of yourself that were probably repressed as a child, how to really tap into the parts of yourself that are reflected of your ego, so you can tap into elements of you that you aren't even aware of. So check out that playlist. It's called Inner Star Actualization. And hey, like and subscribe. If you enjoy my work, consider supporting on Patreon. Helps out a lot. It's able, how I'm able to do what I do, have a roof over my head, and write my books, make my videos. Everything like that helps out a lot, and I really appreciate it. I want to give a big shout out to everyone who does support, especially Zach, Renaissance Fairy, Cassidy, Michael, Angela, Maria, Top of the World, Athan, DB, Storm the Delta, everyone else. You guys are amazing. The link will pop up right over here in just a minute. Thank you very much.